Gone. I told you I needed to talk.
Why am I wasting this time?
I know. Yeah, but I do. I feel like the soul has been gone from music since Britney Spears released that damn baby, whatever that was, video back in the 90s, 2000s. That ruined music for the last like 20 years, I feel. And just now, I feel like there's a renaissance happening with artists and getting to the soul again of music. And that is so exciting. So yes, I totally agree. We have a tendency to bring in our awareness of the darkness that is willing to just suck all the energy. But I also feel like there's a good amount of momentum to go forward and create. Really. Amanda LS was talking about for her 7-7. We should mention it's the 777 portal today. So yay. Yay. She was talking about keys to doors and how we have all of these new keys to step into what our soul has wanted us to do. And it's up to us to do it. And so many people don't want to do it. It's either a challenge or it's might be something great, but we're like, oh, I don't know. My life is good. It's fine. It's my routine. And I mean, I know like I'm not stuck, but I'm in my little life here at the water. And I have my routine and I'm spending way too much time playing, video games like on my phone. And I'm like, what am I doing? I have to like redirect.
And it feels exhausting to restart everything or to go into a whole new pathway.
Yes. Oh, it is. It's exhausting, especially since we're all still exhausted from the last 3 years of being beaten up by life and the external, right? I mean, we are like, it just feels like, where is that energy going to come from that will give us back our enthusiasm? And like I was just saying, for me, it's been music. I'm so inspired right now by so many people that Philip Phillips has a great new album out. Matchbox 20 is back. They haven't had an album out in decades. And it's great.
Just got my free tickets to Mohegan to see them.
Oh, really? When are they playing?
July 22nd. Of course, I can't go, but
oh, you can't. Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I mean, that's so great, like so great. And Jason Mraz has one that's amazing. And like just the words. And I even quoted him in a post that I'm doing. I just mocked it up. And it's, your dreams are hard work, but it takes a lot of work to make your dreams come true, but you just might like it, right? That's the, did I lose you? There you go. You just might like it. And that's the thing too, is that we've been conditioned in our society to think everything's easy. And that's why there's this whole crisis of no one wanting to work, because people don't want to put in effort to do anything. And that's only going to go along for so long before people just spiral downward into addiction.
And I think part of that is also kind of like our creation codes.
Yes.
That because people have been working for something that they weren't passionate about. It was
exactly
the system or whatever. And now it's like it's so hard to know where to turn, because it's like you got to turn inward and create what you're going to do next. But that's not the way we've been programmed to do the work all along. So it's a whole paradigm shift.
It is. And so we're in this ugly, step of it where it's true. I mean, no one wants to do the stuff for the minimum wage and whatever. And because that isn't passion, it isn't why we came here. And that whole money system is in place, which makes people required to pay their bills. And so they've got to go get a job that they don't necessarily enjoy just to live and, pay their water bill as my
job. I have the deck sitting here, and joy is the top card.
Yes.
It's like, right. It's like, what brings you joy? Because that's what's going to bring you money to pay your bills.
Right.
So it's that whole thing.
Right. And and this part too, right? We created this deck and it's amazing, but it also needs to breathe and be shown and talked about. And so that's this part here is talking about your creations and sharing them with the world. And being artists, it's a balance. You can't do it for the money. It never works. It shows in your work. And so you have to just hope that the universe carries it out into whoever needs it, and there's an exchange there, and then it grows, and it grows into other things, right? As far as what people need.
Get from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the state of things. So it's like a push to a new story, I feel, is what's happening right now. I see it in those closest to me who are stuck in old stories. And it takes, it's like, how bad do you want it? Is also a big question, because like I was saying before, there's this vacuum of the past that is, it's this pulse that says, no, just stay in this familiar, even if it's uncomfortable story. But it's growing in its uncomfortability, and it's just getting to the point where, everybody is making changes because they can't stand where they are anymore. It's just too painful. So, and it's got to get that way too, because most people won't change. Right. I'm not sure if the joy cards talks about changing. Most people need the pain to change. They won't change for joy. Joy isn't a motivator. They'll stay, the pain has to get too great, and the balance has to get has to get too out of balance with the pain to then leave. And the other thing that I had, I was thinking about, it's like the relief of, I think what's happening now too, is like what can give you relief from, whether it's an overwhelming day or something big, like, so you're trying to create a new project or something. And I had heard the relief of just being yourself, and I thought that was huge. Just being yourself, and that's all you have to do, because again, with what we've been cultured to kind of fit into certain molds. I was watching. This is so off topic. I was watching that new Glamorous, the first episode of it's on Netflix. It's cute. It's with Kim Cattrall and this cute guy, not sure, guy, girl, them. He's the main character. He's the main character, and he's obviously male, but he's like in women's clothing a lot. He dresses in heels and stuff. And it was like, so it's so interesting for me because in this show, I got a glimpse of the androgyny of Higher Dimensions in some of the background characters. And I thought, there's like all of this going on right now about gender, but then from my own perspective, like, I love men and I love manly men, I love manly men. And so it's like, fine, I'm watching the show and I can appreciate it, but then like, it's just not me either. Right. And so there's a space for that, and I can enjoy the dialogue and the fashion, and I can enjoy that. But as far as like a romantic relationship or whatever, I'm like, well, that just doesn't resonate with me, because I love the passionate, strong, masculine man. Like, that resonates for me. So, and I'm like, I don't want that to go away. I don't want that to disappear. So I'm sort of in that too, that whole mix.
And I think that, and that's become now the negative example, right? That strong, manly man. But I think it's a good point. Like, that's how, at this time, so many people are choosing to express themselves.
Yes.
But there's so many layers under that. So I feel like we just haven't gotten there yet. So it's like, that's great that we're starting that process, but it's like, okay, what are these other layers now?
Right.
Because that's, that's eventually not going to matter at all.
Right.
Yeah. And then what comes next?
Yeah. And that's an interesting question. What does come next? We'll see, because this isn't going to really, I think it's splashed all over the place right now because it's so new, but then at some point, an individual has to settle in. You can only be flamboyant and over the top in whatever you're doing for so long. I feel like that wanes, that level of intensity wanes. It has to. I mean, a person can't sustain that for their whole lifetime, I wouldn't think. I mean, if they're in show business, sure, but I don't know. So it will be interesting to see kind of where the dust settles. But yeah, I don't know as far as the whole masculine thing. I don't know. I mean, I still cling to my rom-coms. That's the other thing too, is as far as creativity goes, what do I, and as a writer, and I'm like, I've always tried to approach it from, okay, maybe I can create something that I don't see. Right. So like I went to an art show in Westerly a couple of weeks ago, and it was great. There was a lot of sea art and sea glass stuff, and it was all very coastal art stuff, but nothing spoke to me as far as I have to have that thing. I have to have that piece of art, which has happened to me so many times in wherever we've been. So I thought, because I've taken up like painting and drawing and stuff, and it's all very new and fun, and it's really been. I've always wanted to be like an illustrator. That was like my dream. And that's the thing too, like the difference between dreams and goals. And I've been writing a post about that. What a dream, what is your dream or a goal, right? A goal is very egoic and comes from your ego. You want to achieve a goal, which is fine, but then there's got to be a balance, because it's like with my triathlon training, it went off the deep end. It really did. It went off the deep end. And I think goals, when they get out of control, you have to ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Why? And I thought, and I was in tears over the whole Lake Placid disaster. It wasn't a disaster. I did it. I accomplished it. It was not a disaster,
Amazing.
but I accomplished my camp. Like I did it in the camp. I did not do it in the race, but it made me realize I have more work to do for the race. Right. And so that goes back to, how bad do you want it? If I really, really want it, I should be out on my bike every day mastering hills, because that was my downfall, like trying to get down this descent. And I was like petrified with fear. So I need to do that work. And so the question is, how bad is me crossing that finish line? How worth it is it to do the work that I know I have to do to get there? And so there's all that. Right. And I think that's for everybody. It's like, are you willing to do the work to change?
And so I'm tying it in what you're saying right now to going back to the art show you went to, because it ties back, I feel like, to the deck, because, I've always wanted to create an oracle deck. I don't draw, I don't paint, and discovering AI and being able to have the images come through, which is controversial to, in some ways to some people. But I think it's another example of finding creative ways to get your energy and your messaging out there, even if it is uncomfortable, because it's not the old traditional ways.
Similarly to our just conversation about gender, right? It's
right.
Like this new thing people are pushing back on because it isn't what it has always been, and it's a threat. Right. So all of the newness of it is a threat to the traditional artists, which I understand. I get it. I understand that perspective.
Right.
I also think I too was like so excited with AI art and obsessed with it in the beginning, and that's waned and brought me to traditional drawing, right? Because like for you've tapped into some energy where you're creating these beautiful images. For me, I was stuck in some dark corner of Midjourney that was producing the most ugly crap. I was like, I'm like so off. And then it just kept coming. So I was like, I'm not finding what I'm trying to do through that.
Right.
So it made me even more so want to try it myself. So
Right.
there's all these little branches of the tree.
It's so true. It's exactly the same when I try to then put something on canvas. Then I'm like more frustrated because I'm like, that is the ugliest thing. I can't even look at it. And it's not what I was feeling. So I'm not going to do that. Yeah. It's
Right.
like, it's just another medium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just tools and what you bring to it, the energy.
And,
So
and it's everything, right? It's, create, because I do work right with helping women conceive. So it's the same thing. It's like, if you're struggling to conceive, that could be a really horrendous journey to go through, even if you wind up conceiving and having a baby. So it's the same thing. It's like, how are you taking that journey and what mediums are you using? And, the little steps to get there are so important. It's like the outcome could be the same and it's a completely different experience for the person or, different people. So it doesn't matter what you're creating, whether it's art or human or anything else.
That's right. It is. It's the energetic. It's the energy and the flow. And I've been very disconnected lately. I haven't sat in my prayer chair. I thought of that last night. Like I climbed in bed last night and I thought, oh, I was going to, and then I didn't. It's almost like I was avoiding connection, which I recognize in myself. And I don't know why. I think just because sometimes I'll just sit in my chair and I feel so much energy up there that it's like instant. And I feel like I would just cry if I sat in my chair, just for a million reasons, for all the animals that need help I see every day on Instagram and I can't help them, or my son who's struggling with something and I can't help him. I have to just watch him go through it. And so like just anything, pick any of them. I would just, have a reason. And I think that's really true for most of humanity right now, is just pick any random reason and it's a reason to cry. so yeah. So I feel like that's just life right now. And I don't know what's going to change anytime soon, but the art really helps. The writing helps. The music helps. What you're creating with your artwork, it helps. Like it's that connection. And in those sad moments too, it's, how many wonderful songs do we love that talk about heartbreak for whatever reasons? I just listened to one and the guy was talking about his dad can't get out of bed. The song is called God Is Really Real. And at first I was like, I hate this song. and then I was listening to it. I was like, wow, it's actually a really brilliant song. And he's just singing and more talking about his father's ill and can't get out of bed. And the rest of the world is turning and things are going on and you have to keep living. And he hates that because his dad is ill. And it's a new song. And I was like, this is brilliant. And so I think a lot, like I was just saying before, a lot of the artists have really tapped into the wound that has been cracked open since COVID and the soul that's coming back into art and bringing art back for everyone, for kids, for the connection to your artistry, which is one of the cards. I'll find artistry. Right. But it's your life. Your life is your artistry. And that's what the card says. And it's so true. And I think when we finally break the financial system open to allow for someone to go find their passion and express their art and not worry about paying their bills, then the world is going to be, here it is, 23. Artistry. Yes, artistry. Yeah. 23. But it talks about the world. Your life is your artistry. It is your art, your life's work. What is your life's work? And the other question I had too, I was thinking I was going to go to I was going somewhere, and you always think, oh, people ask you, what do you do? Right? Like, what do you do for a living? And I thought that I'm going to personally change that when I meet someone and we're having a conversation. It will be, why are you on the planet? Or what is your life's work? What are you passionate about right now? What do you do for fun?
Yeah.
Right? These are all much more interesting questions than what do you do for a living? And ones that I would be much more, interested and engaged to know what you do for fun than what you do for work.
Well, and because I pulled this card out while I was looking for the registry card expression, and it's like, that's even a question too, right? Like, how do you express yourself? Maybe that's what you ask instead of what do you do or something. But this card also, I'm realizing, is connecting all the things you've mentioned, right? It's like, this person looks androgynous, right? You have the music here, you have the frequency, the art, and the magic, and I think part of it is like remembering the magic and it not having to be easily explained to everyone. I think that piece doesn't necessarily get missed, but it gets kind of pushed down. I know in like the work we do, I know for me it does a lot of the times, because I'll say, like, I don't know how to explain that to someone. This is what I'm doing, but I don't know how to explain it to someone. And I know in the past that's held me back from what I've put out there and what I've done. So for me, that's definitely changing, and hopefully for other people too. But I think that's a big piece of it. I think the magic, the not being able to explain it, and all of that, and it just needs to be okay.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Totally. The magic is so true. It's the part of the unseen.
Yeah.
And I went, my avenue was fantasy fiction for a while, just because I was able to bridge what I know to be true about our actual lives and put it in a fantasy fiction book so that it was vanilla coded, kind of, for people to accept. And that was years ago. And so now I feel like I'm just going to be a witch now, like I'm not going to hide it anymore. Right. So no one's hiding their fact that they wear high heel shoes. Some guys wear high heel shoes. He's not hiding his high heel shoes anymore. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I won't hide my magic either. I'll just be a witch or something, or pink. So yeah, I feel like that. And that goes back to the being yourself, the relief of being yourself. And I think that's also what's happening too with what we're seeing in the collective. It's, little of it is contrived. A lot of it is contrived, but there's a part there that's wanting to, like you said, express yourself.
Right. And I think it's also hard because everything is so out there now, right? Like everything's being shown. So there seems to be this need to express in like bigger ways, or ways that you're expressing yourself, and in some ways you're exaggerating to be seen. So it kind of doesn't defeat the purpose, but it's kind of, I don't know, I think that's going to balance out too. It's going to be like, we'll get to a point where you don't need other people to look at it to express. It's going to, like you're going to be expressing and it won't matter if people are looking at it or not.
Right. Because right now it is very egoic, and it is a wanting the validation, the acceptance, the whatever. And I think that comes with age too, because a lot of it is the younger generation feeling that, or we're just seeing it that way. And like now I'm like, I don't care. I don't, I'm just going to, I guess that, when 50 hits, I didn't really get there in my 40s. I still felt that way, needing that external approval. But once 50 hit, it hasn't hit yet. I'm not 50 yet.
Just say you still done.
I know, but I'm getting there. But I feel like that, or menopause. I had an early menopause. So when that hit, I feel like it was okay. I truly don't care. It's whatever, which is good. It's a good place to, but also I have to brush my teeth every day because I might not. So it's a balance. I have to make sure I brush my teeth and express my true self. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't, and I know that the connection, maybe I'll end with this, the connection that I feel in my prayer chair, like that connection that I've been avoiding is my wholeness. And is my wholeness. It's like my connection to my whole self. And I don't know why I've been avoiding that lately, because I was having a conversation with a friend last week, and I was talking about the whole triathlon thing, and I said, when I cross that finish line, whose arms do I want to fall into? Not my husband's, sorry, and not my kid. Like, I want him to be proud of me, his mom, doing something that took a really long time to achieve, and I get, like, that is important to me. But like, whose arms do I want to just be like fall into? And the answer that came to me was myself. Like, that is the answer I got. Right. And then I burst into tears. I was like, of course. And I thought, well, is that crossing that finish line? Is that going to make me feel whole? In that moment that I was thinking about it, the answer was no, which is weird. It was like, at what point am I going to feel whole in myself? And is it all of these goals?
Or maybe it's different goals, right? Maybe that's when you realize that the goals aren't in alignment with your soul anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly what I was feeling was, these are, for the reasons that I started this process 4 years ago, I've completely changed. I'm completely changed. So yes, I'm doing some stuff for doing it for fitness, but the reasons, the very, prideful reasons that I had 4 years ago are gone-ish, mostly gone now. And so, and it goes back to the dreams versus goals. What are the dreams? What are the dreams that I, have now versus any kind of goal? And also the question of what's not out in the world that I would like to see. So I want to go create it, right? That we talked about.
Yeah. And I think the goals and the dreams, I mean, we've said it in a million different ways, but are they really your dreams and your goals, like right now?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that ties into how you were saying, how we're both saying we're feeling everything's meaningless. Not everything, but everything. Like, nothing means anything. I don't care about anything. And I feel like that is a state of it's a step of ascension, evolution, evolving. As a soul evolves, you let go. You let go of everything, and the third dimension. You let go of all of it and any attachment, and that's huge. Non-attachment is like a Zen Buddhist monk thing. Non-attachment. And so we're getting there.
Yeah. And I think that's another one of those topics that is really relevant for turning 50 and all of that, because you hear the words all your life, but then around this age you start to really understand what it is. Because you've now are up to a point where you've had to have non-attachment to some things and let go of some things, and so it brings you to a whole different experience that you could have possibly have had before. So, it's another. So before we end it, I just want to I feel like we should talk about, because it's the 777 portal. So in our deck, in the creation codes, is the power card. And these cards that look like this in our deck are the frequency cards. So it's the frequency of 777. So do you have the book in front of you, or?
I do.
Okay, or I can pull it up.
Yeah. It says, you are here to live your life in bold strokes of vibrant color. I'll just read the first paragraph because it's so good. As we age, we evolve and walk through the stages of archetypes. As young women, we are the maidens of the world, fresh and green, with eyes wide open with idealism. On this life journey, you may choose to become a mother of a child, a business, or an idea. You live in the ebb and flow of creation with every inhale and exhale. Your breath is your bridge between spirit and human, and your reminder of your divinely human nature. And at some point, you are to become queen. Becoming the queen of your journey is your destiny in this lifetime. And then it goes on and with the visualization, and the affirmation is: the power of the universe is at my disposal through my body. And it's really the frequency deck was the first ones that we created. I think. Well, Soul Baby was the very, very first one. Soul Baby. The frequency deck, and they were great fun, and they're also very connecting to your energy body and to your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, every single body that you inhabit. So the power card is for today, 777.
So it's the day, right? We can let go of what no longer serves and bring in our intentions. So
yeah, the new story we want to write. I love it. Yeah. And this was really great because I was feeling like I wasn't talking, but talking is good. It feels good to use our throat chakras. I think that maybe that is part of it too, is maybe we were having a little blockage in our throat chakras. But it's important. I feel like there are people who will benefit from what we're doing. And so that's why we had a dream of creating our deck, which we did, and yay us. And and now we're hoping to share some wisdom with those that are interested in learning. And I've been sort of saying it's like consciousness class, and we're the professors and the students, because we're learning as we go, and we're sharing what we're learning, and it's mutual. So it's fun.
Then that's the best part for me that's been happening since I've been able to share now that they're here, and sharing them with my clients, and and reading them, and I have my own thoughts on it as I'm reading it, and then when the client responds, it's like, oh my God, like some are brought to tears, and they're like, oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear today. So we're all experiencing them differently, which is the best part, and to be able to like share that in person or or through speaking just brings it to a whole other level. So it's amazing.
It is amazing and very exciting, and I'm so happy that they're resonating with your clients. And so we just have to think about what's next. But what's next is we're going to talk about them more. We're going to be sharing them more. So this was our first one. I think it went really well.
We're the best.
We are. Awesome. Okay.
Awesome.
All right, love. Well, thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
all. Happy 777.